Hello, REBBL, GMAN, Division 4D. It is I, GMAN, joining you once again for a recap here in Game Week 6. Let's go backwards on the thing. And I'm joined today by Bungie Man.
Hello.
Thanks for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. Now,
Thanks for having me.
let's get stuck into it. Well, our first two games on our schedule to recap are actually our games, luckily. So we get to say our piece. My game is the first one. I won't say too much about it. 1-1 against GFI Joe. Very good player. This game was very much one of those games where you feel like, oh, I'm having such bad dice. And then later on you read the dice log and you go, okay, he rolled 9 POWs and 19 skulls, while I rolled
11 and 9.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. it looks.
I think really the most telling statistic there is that you got 100% catches, 100% animosity, 100% pickups, 100% go for it, and succeeded 100% of really stupids. And you didn't fall to always hungry, and you managed to throw a teammate.
Yeah, so, but then he fell down and hurt himself. Yeah, it was one of those games where you have pretty good dice, but one or two moments like fail you. For example, the one time I failed the foul appearance, it was blitzing the beats to Nurgle, and I went, oh, that's nonsense. I'm going to try again. I'm going to re-roll that because there's 2 die with claw palm. You know, good chance of it either being removed or stunned, and therefore useless for the next turn or two. Into double skulls. And then my killer didn't get up for the next like 4 turns because he was just being stomped on. So yeah, you think I thought bad dice during the game, but it very much was pretty equal, if not better for me actually. A 1-1 is also really fortunate because he double won the dodge that would have given him 2 GFIs to score. So can't complain.
I can see here that you didn't attempt any passes, and I suppose that's probably because you're a team that can pass, right? You've got the option to pass, but you can't do that against Nurgle really and expect to get away with it, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
That's probably a factor that I imagine you weren't able to play your game.
I don't like to pass anyway, really, but it is an option. Luckily, ever since I got my Blodge ball carrier, he's able to really sort of punish a team like Nurgle, who has no tackle whatsoever, usually. So even if he gets, say, 2 die on him, and it was occasions where I would be on a turn where 4 of my guys were stunned, I was already down players, I barely, by the skin of my teeth, managed to create a screen, but still gave up 1 hit on the ball, and GFI Joe rolled his dice against that ball carrier, couldn't get it down because of the dodge. And then just chose to leave it to try and conserve rerolls for the next few turns. So yeah, fortunate for a 1-1 for me, but I won't complain because it means 2-3-1 I think as a record. It's not a bad record for Underworld.
Yeah, not bad at all.
We come up to your game next, and it's quite a bloody nose, but
yeah, well, the thing about, in my opinion, Blood Bowl is a game about being prepared and able to weather the storm of bad dice.
Yeah.
And for those who don't play Halflings, they're one of the reasons why they're so rubbish, basically, is that they can't withstand bad dice. You can't afford to have bad dice as Halflings. And, I mean, at the end of the day, if you lose 5-1, your opponent has deserved the win. There's no doubt about it. So I'm not taking anything away from this guy who has been smashing everyone's pieces all season. But I do want to point out that I bought a Halfling Master Chef and stole 1 reroll from this guy, right? And he got cheering fans 4 times in the first half. So my Hot Pot my Master Chef had an average of -3.
Well, that's the thing with an elf team. It's like, I don't care if you take my rerolls away, I'll just score. So then I just keep rolling the cheering fans. And also, if you look at the stats, it kind of tells a game of 7 passes, 7 catches, 5 injuries, and 3 kills also inflicted.
I mean, it could have. If you look at the, you see the landing statistic for my halflings there. Now
Yeah.
I've got, as you can see, an Agi 4 halfling. So if you can get the ball to him, there's a very, very good chance that he can stick the landing. He should be sticking that landing well over 50% of the time. And the fact that I managed to throw him 7 times and he only stuck it twice, it could have easily been 5-all if I'd have managed to keep making those landings.
Yeah, that. So I would say quite fairly, and also pick up 4 out of 6.
Yeah.
You hate to see it when halflings get dice, because, to be honest, halflings, okay, yeah, they can't really weather bad dice because they are slow and they have no armor. But you can say that halflings can give you a pretty damn hard time of things because of the trees, because of their inducements, because of that Master Chef. But this looks like you got diced a little bit, which isn't going to help.
Yeah, fair play to my opponent though. He's good.
Yeah, stunningly good. I'm not excited to play him this week. We'll see what happens tomorrow on that. But a big game that came up next was Helgen's Marker Nurgle versus Plovak's Lizards. These two, or at least Plovak definitely is up there in terms of contention for a playoff spot. And he came out of this with a 2-1 victory against that increasingly scary Nurgle team. It looks like the Nurgle team kind of out-blocked him to an extent. More KOs, less injuries, which you kind of don't expect from the... You expect mostly this Nurgle team to be able to injure a few Sauruses. But this time, it didn't appear to be the case, and although they outbashed them, it looked like it just managed to get... It's just a 2-1 victory for the Lizards. Which I think...
you can see the Lizards there succeeded on all of their dodges, and you can't keep up with those skinks if they're able to dodge around you, right? There's not really much you can do about it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the problem with Nurgle, is that they not only don't really have the tools to deal with anything with dodge, even if it's a stunty piece, they just can't turn the corner as well as any other team. So while this Lizardman team can, if they were really scared, score quite fast whenever they want, because they're not passing, they're just running. The same thing can't be said of the Nurgle. So even if the Nurgle win that bashing war, because Plovak has a little bit of a bench and all that, he just managed, I think, probably to secure that. Barely.
Quite a nice level up on the beast there, though. That's what you want.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully that gets block or strength up, so he'll be absolutely laughing in the future. Following a kind of a trend of what happened this game week in terms of a lot of injuries and a lot of deaths, Yasari and Skaven really put a hurting to Wheelie, because he rolled 4 KOs and 9 injuries against the Pro Elves.
Wow.
2 armor breaks from the Pro Elves, which isn't great.
30 SPP as well. Wow.
I looked
nice.
at amazing, and considering, as I keep saying in all the recaps, how broken this team was at the beginning of the season, also at like the end of last season, Yasarian is absolutely in the money with all of his level ups and SPP generation. But Keeley, I want to sort of just point out that I looked at the game, or not the game itself, but the statistics in the REBBL.net thing, and it is really grim for the Pro Elves, because it goes miss next game, badly hurt, niggle, badly hurt. So not too bad. The only miss next games are a linesman and a catcher. Well, a no-skill linesman got the niggle, so who cares?
Yeah.
But that is this the only thing that the Rapscallywags had at the beginning of the season, or the beginning of this game rather, was a mighty blow on the Rat Ogre, who was also quite slow. So this was pretty insane.
Definitely a result for him, without a doubt.
Amazing. Yeah, well done there, Yasarian. Next game was a 2-0 victory for T-Cold versus Wraithguard's Rambunctious Rebels, the Dark Elf team. Poor T-Cold had a bit of a hard season, if you've noticed, with a few key deaths in a single game, where he lost a really good Berserker, he lost an Off-Runner, He hasn't been having the best of seasons, been kind of languishing down in the low mid-table, but a good win to get him back to winning ways.
I mean, it's difficult playing Dark Elves and coming up against a team that is going to want to bash you back, really, isn't it? Because they often fall apart in those kind of scenarios.
Yeah. And in this game in particular, it looks like not only did the Dark Elves give it as good as they got, but the KOs that were inflicted by the Dark Elves, although there's more of them, 7 to 5, same amount of injuries. But let's see the wake up after KO. T-Cod rolled a straight 50%, so 6 times it succeeded, 6 times it failed. While for the Dark Elves, they got 4 to 1. So in many ways, the statistics look like they went against T-Cod here. But T-Cod managed to pull out a very solid 2-0. In my opinion, I think a part of it might be down to like his blodge ball carrier, the amount of block on his team, or keyly the fact that this Norse team is a little bit more developed. It just has a few more games under its belt, which could always be a bit of a decider in these kind of matchups.
Definitely, and well, I mean, the Dark Elves had a difficult time picking up the ball as well there, didn't they? Which is always such a deciding factor in these kind of things.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Especially if you fail a couple of turns in a row, you're basically screwed. I find it interesting that the Norse had a, where is it? Somewhere here. Lightning bolt. They had one lightning bolt that didn't work.
Yeah, so even the inducements here weren't really the factor because of that. Lightning bolt there, I think that was from the Dark Elves onto the Norse, because that's how the statistics work. So the Dark Elves very unlucky there. Rolled a lot of 2s, it looks like, in really annoying places, or 1s rather, 1s in really annoying places, which is obviously quite a bit of bad luck. What this looks like is maybe once or twice he tried to pick up the ball, it failed. He didn't put a reroll in, but the Norse kind of managed to bound down the pitch enough that he couldn't make the yardage. KOs maybe came at the wrong times, and he got the ball stolen off him in the end. Bad luck there, I assume, therefore, to Wraithguard, but T-Cold will be very happy with that win.
Yeah, definitely.
Next game is the high-flying Khemri team. The Masterful's Blood and Sand versus Crepusculem's Legion Dead Metal. Again, following the trend of this game week, insanity in terms of KOs. 8 KOs inflicted, 1 injury inflicted for the Khemri, 2 injuries inflicted there from the Necromantic. 62 blocks, so significantly out-blocked for the Necro. 62 for the Khemri, that is. Out-blocked massively. So it looks like that 5 strength advantage was really, really leveraged by Masterful. In addition to the fact that there isn't really too much in terms of the way of things to deal with that amount of strength. The Legion of Dead Metal doesn't have that much guard. They don't have a Mighty Blow Wolf. They'll always struggle in this matchup, and it looks like that's precisely what they did.
You can always tell when the Khemri has had a good time, when they've basically rolled almost exclusively blocking dice, and there's always no statistics to look at in terms of any other kind of die, because that's how they want to play, right? They don't want to have to roll anything other than pick up dice.
Absolutely,
and maybe they would go for it.
The 2 pickup dices that they rolled as well were just straight pickups. So I'm assuming this wasn't a played in the rain game either. It reminds me of a game where the Khemri get to hit first, they KO everything. Let's look at the KOs. The KOs didn't quite come back enough, or enough for out that Crepusculem kind of failed to do much on his defense, or his offense rather, and then it kind of like piled in, ball gets popped out, picked up by a thrower or by whoever, and then walked in. So that's unfortunate. But then again, Masterful deserved the victory, and Masterful hasn't been having the best of times in terms of like team development. He keeps losing players here and there, but he's managed to sneak a few games to make sure that even though he may lose Tomb Guardian every like 5 games or so, he will remain competitive in his record.
Yep, well played.
Well played. And the last game for that game week was a 2-1 victory for Mattia's Necromantic versus Rifkan's Chorf team. Poor poor Rifkan. Yeah. So it's worth pointing out that we're going to point this out when we actually look at the teams. I can't wait to look at this team. It's worth pointing out that I think Blood Horse was about 900 TV at the beginning of the season. 1 death, matched in armor breaks by the Necromantic team. And obviously, now you don't have your killer, you are going to be struggling anyway. The killer was really one of the things that kind of gave Blood Horse a way to punch above its weight, or just maintain its sort of blocking advantage against certain other teams. But in this case, Necromantic, who also is very bare bones, has like almost no guard whatsoever, no kill skills really, managed to give it as good as they got in terms of injuries and KOs, roughly. They were better in KOs, worse in injuries, we'll say. It looks like a pretty equal affair. The werewolves were probably just enough to get them around the corner. In addition to the fact that the fireball they threw down took out 3, didn't take out 1. So inducements played a part in this game a lot more than they did in the previous game between the Dark Elves and the other team. Dark Elves and the Norse. Yep, that's it.
It's worth noting as well that the Necro's dice, if you look at the bottom there, 1 and 2 were by far their least rolled numbers, and given that 3 is usually sort of the cut-off point for most of those kind of skills, you can assume that they had a lot of safe die rolls there. Yeah,
it seems quite fortunate. Also, two successes on the regen, 2 failures mean that they did get injured a bit more, but it wasn't show up on the statistics because they came back in the end. And another thing that is important to point out is Blood Horse, 2 successes in its KO rolls, 7 failures, which is pretty significant, I would say, depending on what happens.
Sucks.
Yeah, bad luck there for Rifkanen. Really starting to struggle this season. But Mattia at the same time has been down there due to some key losses in the early season. It's Ajak Worf on that very Necromantic Necros team that died about game 2 or 3. Has really set that team back massively. So it's nice to see him get a win against another fellow beaten up team, shall we say.
Yep, well done you.
And that finishes us for game week 6. And we'll quickly now look at the leaderboards on REBBL.net. Let's do our transition, boo 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 bomb, which is just me changing OBS to go to a different window. We have at the top of the leaderboard, Gunnerside, 18 points, clear by about 5 points. If Plovac wins and Gunnerside loses tomorrow, then he won't even be knocked off top spot. But second to about, I would say, I'm going to say 6th because that includes me then. Second to about 6th is quite a close fight. The mid-table, true mid-table of 6th to about 9th even. Actually, the whole table is kind of close.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say even down to about 12th, there's still, a bit of give there. And to be fair, the High Elves are doing well, but all it takes is for them to lose a few guys because they can get ragged around, and all it takes is for them to lose a few guys, and all of a sudden we've got a competition on our hands again.
Absolutely, yeah. High Elves, as any elf team, is a little bit of a high variance team. It's nice that it's being this tight at this part in the season. The only 2 players I can see probably won't be up there in terms of contention for a challenger spot would be, unfortunately, Wheelie and you, but...
What are you talking about, man? You wound me. That's the comeback's happening. You just wait, it's coming.
You could win 7 games on a trot, and then maybe everyone else loses theirs. I'm not sure how the schedule works.
Yeah, I don't think that's mathematically possible, but you can hope, right?
If you got mid-table after this start, you'd be buzzing, and you could still get into the Stunty Cup.
If I win 1 game after this start, I'll be buzzing.
You never know. Maybe you face what team could you face? My team. You could
I've
face
got
my
Nurgle
team.
next week.
Yeah, you could face my team and knock the shot at my rats. So it could happen. It could happen. Norse don't really like playing against you either.
No.
But Wheelie's also having a tough time down there. Helgen, T-Cold, and Wraithguard are also struggling a bit, but I think even Riftcannon could put a strong run of games because there's only really 2 wins off of that second place right now. Obviously, games get played and then people go up and down, so we're starting to see now 6 games in, 7 games in, a clear like these are the people who really will be moving forward and who will have a chance at doing something this season. That's why we wait until about game 5 to even look at leaderboards, because otherwise anything else is heresy. But this is pretty solid there from Gunner's side. No losses yet. Plovak is also doing very solidly. Unbeaten from Yossarian. Masterful has a lot of up and down games, but he's managed to pull out some very impressive wins, including one that was like 6+, 5+, 2+2+ the score. So Dice has been inside. I also won't begrudge him for the fact in game week 1, I snaked a GFI that would have made it 2-1 and ended up losing 2-1. So I could be up there. I could be there where Masterful is, but c'est la vie. C'est la vie. But yeah, that's the leaderboard for now. I can't wait to see what it's like next week because although top spot won't change, everything else in between can really, really change. We'll look over the teams now. And it's kind of a short one this week, unfortunately, because not a lot of people got level ups. I didn't get a level up, unfortunately, so I won't be looking at my team. Look at my special thing you can't see. Okay, so Crepslim didn't get any level ups. Mattia did get a level up. He leveled up a dodge on his block jump up white. He also got a niggled white, which I think he should probably get rid of. Here's a question for you. What do you think about Mattia choosing jump up on that werewolf as his second skill?
Well, he's got 8 movement, right? One of the most frustrating things when you're playing a team that can move up and down the field like that is when all you guys with decent movement are on the backs. So I think it's a pretty sensible choice. I mean, he's got the blodge now, so the jump up may well have been a lot of people's choice after the dodge.
Yeah.
I forget what the werewolves naturally get access to. General and agility.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a pretty good choice. And Blood Bowl is a game where you can get creative like that with your choices, to be fair.
Well, mostly in like these kind of leagues as well, because there's a lot of people who would shout at you in like CCL if you took jump up second or third skill, because like you need that kind of really concise, like this piece needs to be useful immediately. While jump up is a skill which a lot of people see as kind of secondary to say tackle or sidestep.
I think he needs to fire some zombies though.
I would say he
120k by getting rid of a few of them.
As I said, he should fire the tackle block one. I just don't think you need it, especially now you have a tackle and you're white. His treasury's in a bit of a perilous balance because he can buy a second werewolf again, or he can replace his white. I would say he should fire his white anyway, but he should get probably a werewolf first, because I feel like you could wait for a game or two, get the white back and see how it fares. It has regen anyway, so Nickel is slightly not too bad. But I'm not sure. What's your thoughts on this? What should he do with his treasury going forward?
He's got 140k. I can't see any reason for why he would want to keep a white with a niggle when he could just replace it. Really, you don't need 2 werewolves, especially when the one that you've got is totally badass like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wouldn't. Regardless of the fact that regeneration kind of makes the niggle not quite as bad, it's still a liability for absolutely no reason. So I'd get rid of the white.
Okay, fair enough. As I said, I hate niggles so much because Mighty Blow hit breaks naturally without using Mighty Blow. 2+ to the injury roll sends KOs into Kaz's and 6s into KOs. So I despise it, of course. But I do think he has 2 options there. He could leave it and see how much. If you high rolls on the next game week, you could potentially also just buy a white next game. After this one, he's going to play this game week. So it's really up to him. It's whether or not he wants like that 6 movement block piece now, or he wants to develop a werewolf. But speaking of also a team, there's no way to get into this easily.
That was a quality segue right there.
Quality. Speaking of a team, or should we say a team that's taken a lot of beating, because Matty's team also took a lot of beating. So
wow.
Salvaged that. Yeah, Rift Cannon's team looks like nothing. It's a really...
Yeah, this is an incredibly polarizing team to look at, because it has got some really nice stuff there, to be fair.
1900s, roughly 1900, I think, is what it started out. Its losses this season have been a guard, I think it's just guard, a guard blocker, that insane killer that had Piling On, Claw, Mighty Blow, Pro, dead as well. You have a Bull Centaur that's taken a move down last game. And you've taken also an armor down, rather, on the insane 7 movement 5 strength Bull Centaur. That one, of course, as we know, stabbed to death by a assassin. And he's also taken some stat busts here and there on a Hobgoblin. Who cares about them? But this team is sitting at a very trim 1260. This is like a season 2 or 3. I think it's season 3 Chorf team.
So there's a lot of very agonizing decisions to be made here. I'll be interested to see what that Hobgoblin gets when he rolls his level up.
Yeah, I would say if it's a double for like dodge, I would keep it, probably.
Yeah. Other than that, it's just bloat, right? The Bull Centaur with 5 movement, well, he's got one with 7 movement and 5 strength. So I think he can afford to ditch that Bull Centaur and start fresh, because the Centaur's not rolled any doubles, right? He's got break, tackle, mighty blow, tackle, and guard.
Yeah,
it's nice, but at this point, with a movement down, it's just pointless bloat.
That's true. I would say I might keep that for a bit though, just to, because he does kind of maybe want to keep a team for a certain amount of time to see if he can get some wins, see if that Bull Centaur can still get him some wins on the board. Because if you think about it, with the built-in sprint sure feat, he already moves de facto 8. He's just on like a kind of a normal 6 movement piece rather than a souped up 6 movement piece. So he could keep it for just a bit. Just a bit.
I understand your thinking, but my policy on that kind of thing is that every minute you keep that Bull Centaur, or sorry, every round that Bull Centaur is on the field is a round when your new Bull Centaur's not there getting SPP. So it's, he's inevitably going to want to replace it at some point. I don't know. Well, yeah, I suppose it's two sides of the same coin, isn't it, really, at the end of the day, and he might well prove me wrong.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what he does with that Bull Centaur, because you can, as you say, do 2 ways on that. Right now, he doesn't have the money to replace it anyway, so he'll probably see what it's like after game week 8. If you can replace it immediately, I think that it might be worth pulling the trigger. It is very heartbreaking for him, though, because he's 1 level away from Legend. So that's obviously been around for a while. I can't tell if he's had that like from the get-go, or if he's bought that or anything, but just another horrible loss for this season. Poor Ref Cannon. Or I say poor Ref Cannon, but at the same time he's a Chorf coach, so you can't.
Poor Bull Centaur. Just let him die, Ref Cannon. Send him to Valhalla.
Absolutely. Speaking of the dead, this is a better segue.
That was a wicked segue. Yeah, that was brilliant. Well done.
Yes. Speaking of the dead, Masterful's team got 1 level up. It's very unexciting. It's a wrestle on Dodgy Derek the Goblin. Not the Goblin, Skeleton. I was thinking of my own wrestles, Goblins, who I love very much. But yeah, he's only got wrestle on a Skeleton. There's not much to say about this team. I've said a lot about this team in the last few game weeks. It's a good team.
This is the first time I'm looking at some of this, Wow, look at that. This is a really nice Khemri team.
It's solid. The Tomb Guardians... The Tomb Guardians used to be better, but he's lost like a Tomb Guardian every 5 games.
Oh, typical.
Yeah, luckily it's mainly been the same one. The new one he always gets and dies, so he's been able to pretty much keep a good solid core of Mighty Blow Guard and all that.
His theme is all over the place, though. Ancient Grandma, Magic Mike, sure as hell Harry. What's going on here? What's the theme?
I kind of wish I could get him on again later down the line and say like, what is your theme? I don't get it, because everyone has generally a theme. I mean, there's some I don't get. I don't get T. Cole's theme, but I'm not from his country. I don't speak his language, so I'm sure it means something very clever. But Masterful's I don't understand it. But you know, it doesn't need a theme because it's so amazing. 7 movement, 4 strength, throw raw, 3 ads, throw raw, as you do. The Magic Mike, the Blitz Ra isn't that special. Neither is his other Blitz Ra that has nothing on it. But you have to say one thing: is the Tomb Guardians are amazing, the Throws are amazing, and that is also his skeletons are perfect. 3 dirty player, 1 dirty player, sneaky git. This team is just
that's nonsense. That is.
This team is here.
Who rolls that many doubles?
This team is here for one thing only, and that's just breaking teams.
Yeah, fair play.
Yeah, fair play. Speaking of breaking teams, the Norse team, who also breaks things. I'm so good at these, Christ. This team hasn't got anything, I don't think. It hasn't got anything, so we're gonna ignore it. You can take your look at it, but it's just a stat freak Norse team. It looks pretty good. It's recovering after its horrible breaking in a recent game week. Salute. But Yossarian got level ups. Yossarian got quite a damn few from his outing there with Wheelie. Look at this team. It has a bench. Amazing, right? It has some really great players. It has a 3 strength, 9 movement. It has 2 3 strength gut runners. One's a Saka.
That's huge. That's huge.
You've got a block, guard, stand firm, Rauga. Move down, yes. But Yossarian's team, it came into the first season I ever played with like 6 or 7 move downs. It was insanely busted. It lost its best killer beginning of first season, at the end of first season rather, beginning of OI. But now there is nothing wrong with this team. All he now needs to like think about doing is firing the Rat Ogre maybe to bring down his TV. It's also got a move bust, so why not? You might want to replace the strength up Gutter Runner ASAP Rocket, but at the same time, when it was just rolling normals, it was like, get rid of it, you don't need it anymore. Now it's a strength up, it's pretty damn useful. But this team is really healthy for a rat team. It has a healthy treasury. It can start buying an even bigger bench if it wants. The only thing this team is really missing, for me, personally, is he needs to piling on his Claw Mighty Blow, but that'll come in time. Now he has Mighty Blow, it'll be a lot easier. And also, he's missing his obligatory 10 movement sprint gut runner that every Skaven coach has in this league.
Yeah, I'd consider giving kick to the next lineman that levels up and firing that movement down level 3 lineman that he's got there, because that's just bloat.
That
really.
is, yeah, that's also a good decision, because 70k, okay, 90k rat, get rid of it, hate it. There is one thing I'd like to sort of like question that I've never pointed out. I've just kind of ignored it. Why does he have Hail Mary pass on Kendrick Throfar?
Because memes.
I just don't get it.
I don't know. I think that Hail Mary pass can be handy if you're in like if you're up against the wall. It's like 1-1. It's turn 16. Your opponent's or it's turn 15. Your opponent's just dropped the ball in your half, and you just want to get it as far away as possible. You got nobody there to pass to because you're Skaven and you've only got 3 players left on the field. In that scenario, Hail Mary pass can be very, very useful, and also it's just fun. It's just a funny skill to have in it, really.
But that is also true, and you could also have a situation where your team got split in half. You managed to get like a pretty decent screen or something of, let's say, 3 or 4 or 5 players over on in the enemy's back line, but you can't risk an intercept chance, really. You can't pass to anyone with good odds, even though you got accurate and all that, so maybe then I could also see it. That, or Yossarian's going down a very smart route, which is giving all his gut runners dive and catch, and turns out we're the fools because we're not seeing this
yeah, maybe.
Amazing.
What would you have given the passer instead?
Block, probably. I know the throw is not supposed to be hit anyway, but I just feel like block is good for the occasion that he either needs to be on the field in a defensive play, so he can be essentially a pseudo storm vermin when it calls for it, or just because sometimes you, despite your best laid plans, someone will throw a punch at your thrower, and you'll have to. And I would prefer to have the extra little padding to him.
Yeah.
Personally, I would have, if it were me, I would have gone, instead of getting extra arms on double, which he rolled for first skill, it probably would have been something like either 2 heads or dodge, and just keep that as a piece that is then blodged up, gets accurate just because, and then becomes really sort of a running piece, throwing only when you really need to. But this is now a supreme thrower for throwing's sake. Which I as a Skaven, when I play Skaven, I don't usually play like that, if I can help it. But I will say, the results that Usarin have put forward this season speak for themselves.
Yep, true enough. I mean, I don't play Skaven in leagues because I don't hate myself. But this guy clearly knows what he's doing.
In 2 leagues I'm playing Shorfs, in 1 league I'm playing Skaven. It's only...
So I don't know what I'm talking about. I play Halfling in almost every league. I obviously hate myself.
I play Underworld here, so at least here I have some honor and some and some conscience. Helgen's team, I think, yeah, Helgen hasn't taken his level up on Imperator Tuco, which is
yeah, that's the result from that game for him, really, isn't it? And if he can get a double on there and give it block or something, he'll be laughing.
Let's see. I'm gonna look through this thing on the Is that if that's the only level up, then fair enough. Yeah, that's the only level up. He's also lost 2 rotters. Buckfast Barnes strength down, which is he has to fire that, even though it will hurt him because Buckfast Barnes previously was a Claw Mighty Blow piling on Chorf blocker in GMAN 10A last season. That on like the last day or 2 of the season, he smashed it to death just with a random block, killed it, dead into dead, and just single-handedly almost sent that Chorf team out of the playoffs entirely, or the play-ins at that point. But yeah, he's lost about 2 players. Block tackle is missed next game, I believe. Yep. I would say hopefully he gets block, or hopefully he gets a strength up, but we can't say too much about this team until then. A healthy team for a Season 2 Nurgle, I would say.
Yeah, definitely.
And
speaking of Season 2 Nurgle.
Huh?
Sorry, I was trying to do my own segue.
Okay, speaking of Season 2 Nurgle, Gunnerside, who is not Nurgle, and is not Season... Is he Season 2? I don't know. Let's look at his games.
He's well seasoned. Speaking of seasons...
Brilliant.
Here's this well seasoned...
This is why we're a power team. We're a power team. Speaking of season, yeah. Sun-Baked Seaguard. A very, very, very good team. Coached by a very good coach, evidently. 5-1 against you. 2 level ups. The Blitzer leveled up, and the Adjunct Linesman leveled up. Leap as that next skill on the Linesman.
Bit of a weird one. Bit fruity.
Bit of a statement. Yeah, a bit of a statement, to put it lightly. I don't quite understand it myself.
I'm guessing it's for cage breaking. Because he's got that 5 agi. He can leap in, he can put a couple of guys on the corner, leap into the cage, smash the dude in the face for probably a 1 die if he's feeling brave. But more importantly, he can then step into the square and he's got a very realistic chance of dodging, picking up, dodging back out.
Yeah, which I love. I love the cage breaking piece like that, but at the same time, without wrestle, it kind of the odds of getting something down is quite bad. A lot of time you're going to be fishing for a POW, and also that is kind of a victim without block in my view.
Yeah,
I understand
I
if Leap
agree.
was a double for the elves, but it's not. So that kind of surprises me. But what makes a lot more sense is on a Lodge tackle blitzer, the Maldives, he picked up sidestep, which is standard.
Yeah.
Yeah. This team by the day gets scarier and scarier, but at the same time, it's always like one game away, in my view, from a death spiral. That's always what the thing is with elves, and I hope to give it to him in our game.
Yeah, good luck with that. I didn't have much.
Yeah. Well, luckily I have tackle. But speaking of tackle, my team has nothing in terms of level ups, but I did receive an edge down on a Rackle piece. That won't be there.
Are you gonna get rid of him?
Probably not. He just survives until he dies. Rackle is just too good not to keep around. If I wanted to, I could give him 2 heads and make him into a pseudo-free edge piece again. Or just give him horns and baby him a bit. 2 edge isn't great, but it's probably the least bad thing. If he gets hit and therefore, you know, it's a 4+ to dodge out and that kind of thing, I will probably just leave him on the floor. I just think a Rackle, while the season's going on, is too good to pass up. So I'll keep him around for a bit. Worst case scenario, he dies and I just can't appo him anymore.
Fair enough.
Also,
speaking of worst case scenarios.
Yeah, speaking of worst case scenarios, your halfling team got no level ups, but it has taken a few deaths.
Yeah, that's just par for the course with these guys though, really. And let's be honest, my halfling team is my Agi 4 halfling with sprint and sure feet. Everyone else is just a walk-on part in the show of his life.
I always love the Agi flings. I mean, you see it in say Big O with Monty's team. He has that on the way to legend Agi up halfling. Those buggers really are the most hardy and vital pieces, because they'll turn what is usually halflings are an SPP pinata into I've been beaten 3-2 by halflings, because every time he gets the ball, he gives it to the halfling, he lands on a 3+, walks it in. In another league that I'm playing in OCC, I've lost 1 game this season. That was against bloody halflings.
That's why people are low-key afraid of halflings.
I am, because not only is it embarrassing when you lose, but they can also provide quite the struggle. It was like turn 15, I had like one option, which was to ball centaur foul a halfling to clear a space that I could actually dodge into, but they were using all their like prone bodies to block my way. I just couldn't get through with my show-offs, and then wasn't getting the injuries either, so I just lost it 1-0. But yeah, now this team is back to being just 10 men. Are you gonna immediately pump your treasury into getting the bench?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm playing against Nurgle next week, and I kind of feel like I'd rather just have the inducements, to be honest with you. I'll just induce a bunch of star players and have those be my bench, because I'm fully anticipating getting my head kicked in, because the only thing you've got as halflings... Actually, to be fair, we'll probably discuss this later, won't we? Again, when we go to move on to fixtures.
Yeah.
But yeah, the answer's probably not this week.
Yeah, well, fair play, really, fair play. But again, you only get like a bench of 1 anyway, and as you can say, you can induce bodies if you really want to.
Exactly.
Speaking of bodies, because they pile up bodies, it's more Plovax Lizard's team, which is looking a tiny bit more developed this game week. I believe what Plovac picked up this game week was a single level up on Saurus. And no, he picked up 2 things actually. I'm wrong. He's picked up 2 things, and they're both strength ups. He now has a second strength up Skink, and now he has a strength up Saurus, adding to now 3 strength ups on this Lizardman team.
Yeah, that's nice. That's what you want, isn't it, really?
Yeah, this is an annoying stat freak Lizard team. I'm so glad I played it and now I don't have to play it again, because oh my god, this is going to be horrific. It's lacking, obviously, the mass amount of guards, which make every Lizard team the hell to play against. But when you can't even 2-die skinks easy anymore, so a skink with 3 strength can literally run down the pitch, and if you mark up well enough, you'll either be forcing more dodges that a lot of teams won't want to take if you had to do the potato play, which you shouldn't be wanting to do, but let's just say in case you did. You had to force more dodges to get more than 1 dice on it. They're incredibly hardy. You can't just man mark and be like, okay, we'll roll the 1 and 9, or add needless assists. These can give it as good as they got. In addition, just having another 5 strength piece on the field is... it's horrible. I don't really envy anyone who has to play Plovac for the rest of the season.
Yeah, well, it's basically got 2 Croxagores, really. 2 Croxagores, but one of them doesn't have the prehensile tail.
Yeah, one of them, and one of them's useful as well. One of them like moves around and doesn't stupid.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that team is really, really bloaty now, though. It's a little bit too bloaty for me. All the strength ups do add about, all in all, 90k of extra skills for no real reason. On the Saurus, it really helps. On the Skinks, it gets to that point where it's like, should I fire the 7 movement one that has because I know it's 3 strength, so you want to keep it, but 7 movement, diving, tackle, sidestep isn't. It's 150k.
Yeah, exactly. It's a babe and a it's a wizard, isn't it? Right there. You're giving your opponent a wizard.
Yeah.
By keeping that guy around.
Yeah, I mean, if you replace him with just a normal skink, you'd still be giving away. If you didn't replace him with a normal skink, you'd be giving away, say, 100k still. Or 90k, yeah. It's 90k, so 100k. It's still a bribe. Someone could easily dip into their treasury. For me, that skink is worth, like, Bomber. In my home turf, my home stadium, that's Bomber and Fez Glitch easily. So, I would say maybe fire it. It's busted as well, so it's not that good. Speaking of busted, Dark Elf team frequently being quite busted. Every game, or every game week, it has like an MG.
Not this week.
Not this week, and it's rolled, I believe, a strength up on the linesman. Amazing.
Oh, a strength up on a lineman? I can't see one. Am I looking at the wrong team here?
You might be. Oh, I am. You know what? We completely skipped over Wheelie.
Oh, we'll go back.
Yeah, okay, Wheelie, yeah. So, let's go on Wheelie. Wheelie now's a 9 movement catcher. And I believe that is true. He's got an edge up on the Blitzer. Did I say Wheelie and I just went over to Wraithguard?
No, I think you just skipped over him.
Whoops. Anyway, sorry Wheelie. You got some good level ups, so that's exciting to talk about.
Yeah, that is really nice, to be fair. Sprint sure feet on that catcher is laughing.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, he is a gutter runner already. If he rolls another movement up, then Wheelie's already got his natural 1-turn sorted out, which is always slightly more impressive on a Pro Elf team than it is on, say, Wood Elves or Skaven.
Also, that player looks a lot like David Bowie, so you can force your opponents to watch David Bowie sprint down the field and score touchdowns.
I like the Bowie hair so much.
Me too.
When I play a Pro Elf team, they just all have the Bowie hair. They all do. Because it's just my favourite hair. Everyone else, all of the rest of them look a bit like clowns. Like the ones with the mohawks or the really weird, like, flat tops. They're all Bowie to me. They're all absolutely tried and tested, talented Bromley boys is what they are. But those are amazing level ups to have. Movement makes it a great 1-turn threat, and also just makes it really hard to track down at all. And the Blitz having 5 edge means that you now have even 2 options. You have 2 options to just do ridiculous stuff in retrieving and hitting players in situations where usually it'd be safe. So if anyone does like a loose screen and they forget to do like a whole eye cage, they have to like make a screen that's two squares apart. You can dodge in on 3 on that. You can just walk through 1 tackle zone like it's just nothing, because it was just 2+2+2+. Wheelie's team is also now really, really high in team value, which is okay, but you're going to start getting a lot in terms of inducements away. This team, personally, I think the 4th catcher is a little bit much at this point.
I think a lot of elf coaches just embrace the bloat, though, don't they? Because it's almost inevitable with these guys.
Yeah, it's true, and the bloatier they get, to be honest, the more effective they usually are. But my only issue and worry for this team right now is, okay, 1, remove this niggle piece immediately. Here's a niggle linesman needs to get rid of. Get rid of that. But my only concern with this team right now is you still lack 1 or 2 fundamentals. You still have catchers that don't have dodge. You still have catchers that don't have block. You still have a blitz that has no dodge, which is fair enough if they're good skills that they're picking instead of those, like edge-ups or doubles. But this team might come across a team that is slightly more trim and they're going to be punished for it by the wrong sorts of inducements. But
Yeah,
you know,
it's certainly a risk.
at the same time, Wheelie's team is looking very good and very solid either way. Now we actually get to talk about the Dark Elves before I completely ignored Wheelie. Yeah, this team has a strength up linesman, as you can see. They have a miss next game blitzer, which is quite sad. This team is a lot younger than all the other teams in the league, it's worth pointing out. This team has only played 12 games, so it's a ramp-up coach. Thrown really into the deep end of things, being put in this division amongst 3 season-old teams, 2 season-old teams. It's overall, in terms of wins, hasn't been amazing. He's won, I think, 2 this season. He's won 2 games. One against Halflings and one when he just completely slaughtered poor Rift Cannon's team. But what we will say about this team is, one, he's got some really nice players in the making. The strength up will be an amazing piece. His blitzer, Jacques Roux, is fantastic. Everyone loves Danton, and he's really going to do well in the future. Let's hope he gets piling on or something. The only issues right now is, one, the assassin is still kicking about. I can't say to fire him anymore since he armored down the ball center. You can keep that now for as I care. The Witch Elf is still on only 5 SPP, and has been for a few game weeks. What would you say is really his biggest focus going forward for now?
He needs to get something on that runner.
Yeah, leader, I would say, because he's only
Yeah.
on 2 rerolls, and that's a big issue.
Yeah, definitely. He needs to, that runner needs to either start making some passes or get the ball handed off to him, because you got access to both passing and agility on those guys, haven't you? So there's not really any passing or agility skills going on this team at all.
One thing I would say is, don't fall into the trap, Wraithguard, of giving that Nerves of Steel. I know it synergizes well with Dump Off, but just don't do it. A reroll is much more worthwhile. Dodge is worthwhile. Block is worthwhile. Nerves of Steel was like, you might get hit once, and then what happens if they already base the hell out of your team anyway? So, or you're throwing on a 2+, you're catching on a 4+ or a 5+. Go for something like, as I say, leader if you can. And finally, we have another ramp-up team. The last team, GFI's Joe team. And did he actually get any level ups? He didn't, so we can ignore that. Sorry, GFI Joe. As I say, your team looks pretty decent for a Season 2 Nurgle team. But
yeah, very decent actually. He's doing very well here, isn't he?
Yeah, a little bit less developed than Plovak's team, but it's really coming to its own. The amazing Adjunct Pestigore, the Killers Online, and the Nurgle Warriors are getting there. And that brings us, though, at the end of the game week to our predictions for game week 7. Now, very unfortunately, a game was played as we were literally starting to record. Wheelie beat T-Cold 4-1, so very nice. Congratulations to you, Wheelie, for getting a win under your belt. In style as well. So some of the stuff that he could have picked up as we were talking could be from this game week as well. Yeah, well, we just won't cover your team next week on the recap, Wheelie. You had your recap for 2 weeks now. But without further ado, because this is getting to be a very long recap, let's talk about the predictions. First game is the very Necromantic Necros, the kind of low TV busted Necromantic team versus GFI Joe's Rotters. This is going to be a hard one.
The Necro is going to get about 200 in inducements.
Which could be 2 bribes, and you just stomp everything that you can get your hands on. And with 2 dirty players, you know, good value in that. But
yeah, definitely.
A Wizard and the Babe is also good to protect against 1 KOs from the Killer Pestigore, and 2 also because of how slow the Nurgle move. A Wizard in the right place can just ruin the drive entirely. I'm not sure.
So he's got options, that's for sure.
I'm not sure what he'll pick, but I would say this has like 1-1 to me written over it. Because although you have very fast players in the Werewolf and the Ghoul, for example, I just feel like there is the case where Mathieu could suffer some bad injuries from the killing power that the Nurgle have, which makes it easy for him to score once, but he's not really going to be able to maybe score at one turner. He won't get the option for the two turner.
I think
could be 1-1 for me.
I feel like the Necros, if the Necros had somebody who could more reliably carry the ball, pick up and carry the ball, but they've got no sure hands, they've got no Agi 4, they've got no extra arms or anything like that. So, yeah, they're gonna a few screwed up pickup rolls could completely shaft them.
Absolutely, yeah.
So yeah, I agree. Probably a draw.
Next game is the very busted Chorf team versus Crepusculem's slightly better Necromantic team. The Chorf team, I think, gets roughly in the realms of 200k in inducements. For a Chorf team that's busted, it might be missing a centaur, but it still has, at its core, a bunch of guard pieces. It can still very much pop up against a fight against what is usually mostly a 3-strength team as well. This is a kind of a hard one. The Wizard, for example, if it gets brought out by the Chorf team, doesn't do as much against the Necromantic, or do as much at least for the Chorf team. The removal potential really isn't there, though. You have Claw on the Chorf team, but it's just Claw with nothing else. You have one instance of Mighty Blow on a blocker. To be quite boring, I think this is going to be like a 2-1 in the favour of Crepusculem's Necromantic, because Crepusculem kept his Ag 4 9 movement wolf. So I just feel like, because of one of the ball centers being out, and that's a very good ball center at that, with the tackle and all that, I just don't see the Chorfs having enough in terms of a response to what the Necromantic can do.
I think if they can use their inducements sensibly, possibly beef up their roster a little bit with some interesting star players, and get rid of that one wolf. That wolf is the centerpiece of it, isn't it? Really.
Pretty much, yeah.
If they can take that guy out early, then it's not going to be an easy task getting the ball into the opponent's field. So really, that's his job in it, to take that guy out by any means necessary. Maybe even do a few fouls, maybe even get a bribe.
Yeah, bribes are good. He has so many options. The only issue is I wish he had more in terms of, if he has something like, I can get Grashnak, or I can get the Ball Centaur man, Rakat the Unstoppable or something, then I would say potentially a bit more equal, but I think 2-1 is on the cards for me in terms of a Necromantic victory.
Yeah, I agree.
The next game is Khemri versus the Dark Elf team. On paper, okay, there's a lot of inducements given away, firstly. The Dark Elf team, 1400. Khemri, almost 1800.
1790.
Yeah,
so it's just short of 400k.
No, it's exactly 400k. 1390 versus 1790.
Ah, right, okay, yeah.
So what this means is definitely a wizard. Babe, probably get a babe, but what he can also spring some money for is Roxana. Roxana would be amazing at 5 Ag 8 movement. I just think a fantastic player for either like ball hawking, if not more so just that piece can be anywhere he wants to be on the pitch. He can get Hubris to help him deal with the... Well, we could get him to deal with that annoying throw of the 4 strength, but Keeley...
Yeah, if that guy didn't exist, I'd be like, even consider getting a Master Chef. Because the Khemri struggled to pick the ball up right, but maybe not.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, with the 3 Ag and also the leader, it diminishes its value for me personally. I definitely think that a right play would be Wizard and Hubris, because Hubris is just immense. 7-4-4-8, Mighty Blow block, jump up, I think, dirty player. You won't be fouling, obviously, with Hubris, but he can not only knock off the odd Tomb Guardian if he's basing things you don't want him to base, but he just has a lot of, similar to Roxana, ball hawking potential for me. So it's a hard one to call. I never favour the Khemri when the Khemri have to play against a wizard. That's my rule of thought, even though this Khemri team is very good. for that reason, I'm going to be a bit of a shock and say that a 2-1 victory for the Dark Elves isn't out of the realms of possibility for me. I keep predicting against Masterfall, and it's not because I don't think he's a great coach. He is. He's a fantastic coach, and his Khemri team is very good. It's just merely that a lot of games he's given away a Wizard to an Elf team recently. And though he's won them, I just don't like Khemri when they have to face a Wizard, even if they're so efficient in blocking.
I disagree.
Okay.
For almost the same reason, but the opposite way around. Dark Elf teams always seem to struggle when they come up against another bashier team.
Yeah.
And this Dark Elf team does not have any passing potential, really. So he can't really outbash him, and he can't elf him. So it would seem reasonable to me to suggest that the Khemri are the favourites.
I think that this is a game that can go either way. I think I will be covering it a little bit more in detail next game week. I may even watch the replay. I might do something like insane, which is do a little bit of extra work on that. That game looks quite fun, and I want to see how that works out. But best of luck to both coaches. Benjamin and I.
Yeah, good one for the neutrals for sure.
Amazing, yeah. Speaking of another good one for the neutrals, in this amazing recap for segues, Yssarian versus Plovak, 2nd and 3rd, I think. So you have Yssarian, who's played 6 games, won 3, drew 3. You have Plovak, who I think is more like 4-1-1. Yep, 4-1-1 for Plovak. This is a hard game to call because Yssarian's team is bloaty. Plovak's team's bloaty, so there's no inducements whatsoever, apart from maybe a scummed babe. I don't know what to think here. I would say the amount of responsiveness that the Skaven really have, the fact they can hawk any one of those skinks, so they don't really mind being outbashed because they have a bunch of gut runners that are like 3 strength. They have the amazing leap sack guy. They also have a Claw Mighty Blow now, who can peel off potentially the odd Lizardman. At the same time, as we know, Lizardman team is very strong. It is great at just blocking the nonsense out of it. And Rats can, if they, for example, if they kick, which they should be kicking if they get the option to in turn 1. If they kick, but then receive like 3 KOs on the line of scrimmage, high rolling, but it can happen with 7 armor. Things can go quite south for them. This is another hard game for me to sort of call. But I'm going to say Yssarian Skaven has the advantage here. 2-1, because at the same time, those skinks are never safe when you have a 9 movement, 3 strength, leap, strip ball, wrestle, go on a kicking about. The only thing that will save slightly here for Plovak for me is the fact that one of his skinks does have, what's it called, sure hands. So it's not quite as terrifying that gut runner as it could be. Nevertheless, it's still a very scary thing that he has to face. He won't be able to play against that unless he manages to set up shop in such a way that he just isn't getting anyone around. So 2-1 though for me for Yssarian. I can definitely see it going that way. What do you think? Do you think Yssarian faces his first loss this season here?
Oh, it's a difficult one, this is, because both of these teams have the potential to lose a lot of players very early in the game. Obviously, the fact that the skinks are all stunty is a big liability for them.
Yeah.
And I think this is going to be... It'll be interesting to see if they both try and stand off one another or if they decide to go at it, because obviously the bash potential's there for the Lizards, much more so than it is for the Skaven. But having said that, like you pointed out, those Skaven could really go to town on these skinks, and the Lizards could find themselves very quickly outnumbered and overwhelmed. I suspect it'll be a high score draw, because I think that they'll both try and to move with the ball quite a lot. So I think it could easily be a 2-all, 3-all, or perhaps even more.
That was my... If I had to say what my next sort of most likely result was, I would say draw as well. So I think, yeah, fair enough. I definitely sort of agree with you there. I think it can go either of those ways. I would kind of be... I wouldn't really trust that there's a team to outscore the Skaven unless the Skaven get completely outcast. But that can happen. As we say, this is going to be a very... Because it's Skaven playing, it's a very high variance game where things can go either way. But I say 2-1 for the Skaven. Bungyman says high-scoring draw. Next game, a little bit less of a high-scoring draw potential, maybe, because this is now
definitely
Nurgle.
probably 4-5-0 halflings, I think. All right, let's move on.
10-0 halflings. It's just going to be every time he tries to kick off, a tree gets to... It's blitz, ball on the line, Agi up halfling throne, 6+, lands perfectly, catches the ball on the touchdown line, scores. That's simple as. It's just what's going to happen. But you do have 800, I think, in inducement. Something ridiculously. Oh, okay, 600 actually. No, it's 600. It's not actually that bad. Helgen's team took a beating last game week because it's losing the Pestagore. And that's another thing. It's one tackler's out. Yeah, because he lost 2 Rotters and the Pestagore's out. It went down from like an 800 TV team to a 600 TV team.
Yeah. Does your estimation include the fact that I will have a journeyman?
It doesn't. So it's more like 500.
Okay.
I was getting a bit excited and giddy there. It was like, oh, all this TV, what are you going to spend it on? But
so I think I'll probably have enough for Deeproot, Puggy, and a Babe. So that'll bump my roster up to 13, which isn't ideal for halflings, but I'll give it a go.
Is there anything to say for picking up a wizard at any point? Maybe Puggy for the wizard.
I don't like wizards because they are unreliable and basically just a roll of the die. I've never been a fan of wizards. Maybe I'm just not using them properly. But I don't. Well, it's difficult to say against Nurgle really, because they're just for halfling coaches they're just a giant pain in the ass. Because all you can really do is throw teammate, and they won't let you do that. If anything, I'd probably rather spend my money on bribes and just foul the poop out of him, because I have got that sneaky git.
But I will say one thing, which is no tackle is a positive, and you never know. If you have 3 trees, he will struggle a bit, because at the end of the day, a Season 2 Nurgle team still doesn't have all the tools to deal with the mass amounts of strength, and I think you could pull a result out of this. And also, because of politeness dictating, as you're my co-host for this week, I'm not gonna predict you a loss. I think that's just rude. So I'm gonna say
no, go ahead. Don't.
No, as I say,
be nice.
No. 10-0 victory for the halflings. Well, that's what we That's what we hope for, at least. That's what we hope.
Well, I'm
for.
offended, and I'm gonna go for 13-0.
Yeah. You know what? I should have said that. I should have thought about realistically. 13-0 was actually much more achievable. I was just trying to say, what happens if you get diced a bit?
Just being conservative, right? Don't want to go over the top.
Exactly. But they can now come to our final game, and luckily it's my game. So I love this game because when I'm the last one, I can just say I'll win, and then I can just move on. Cut the episode short. But this is a hard one for me because I get 300 inducements against a high elf team which is high flying. It has a bench, only of 1, which is good, but it has a lot of blodge, has a lot of tackle. Even doesn't have any mighty blows, so it's all running like he's all rolling natural armor breaks. But we're also, with my rackle out of the picture, I only have 1 block tackle, 1 wrestle in terms of like my 3 strength pieces, and then I have a bunch of wrestle goblins. So I do have the tools to take him down. It's just a little bit tough. In terms of inducements, it's looking like I can either choose a wizard and a bribe and a babe, or I can do something like a bribe and glart. And I think having that 7 movement for strength, block, juggernaut, claw could be quite useful, especially considering one of my 3 strength pieces is already out for this game. This is gonna be quite a tough one in my personal opinion. I can't really call that, but I could very well see this being now finally, after quite a few lucky game weeks, being my second loss of the season. 3-1 potentially. We'll say 2-1 because I want to be kind to myself, but I'm not excited for this game personally. And I have no tentacles even, so I don't even have anything that can sort of make the elves kind of scream and struggle here. I only have my claw and my removal potential, and what inducements I can pick up. So it'll be tough. I'll say it'll be tough. I'm predicting myself a loss.
Well, I mean, he is top of the table and he's won every single game so far. So conventional wisdom would suggest you'd put your money on him. What I will say is he likes to score early and go for large numbers of touchdowns because he basically had the touchdown in his half. He chose to receive against me. He had the touchdown ready after a couple of turns, and instead of trying to farm SPP by slapping halflings around, he scored and went to try and score again and again. Obviously succeeded, but that kind of attitude towards playing could well be your undoing if you score too early in the half like that. He's reckless.
In my opinion, I wouldn't mind that if he scores really fast, because then if we think about like the best case scenario is that if he's a little bit too passive, he'll give me a little bit too much that I can hit, and if he leaves any of those catches out on there on a limb, or he leaves me that thrower, I will sacrifice a little bit of positioning to stomp on it. I think it's probably the best for not only my long-term game plan in this game, but also obviously for the league if I kill a thrower or a blitzer or a catcher here, because this team they have so many scary pieces. The 5-out lineman is amazing. The blodge guard one is amazing, because now he matches me on guard. He does have Mighty Blow actually, as I now look at it. Mighty Blow tackle. So this is a game where it's like all my advantages, all the things that I can usually say in a lot of matchups, like, oh, this is pretty decent. He has this not as good removal potential, but his removal potential is I have one blitzer that can tackle anything and punch anything with that Mighty Blow. While mine is, okay, I have a killer that's really good at hitting things that aren't really dodged up, or I have a thrower that can get down the dodge pieces if I need them. I don't have a combination of the two. If all goes well, it's a 2-1 grind, but it doesn't work that way for Underworld half the time. And if you saw my pro-off game early in the season where I 4-4 with Wheelie, I was like, oh, he scored fast. That's great. Short kick blitz 2-0. Okay, then he just takes the ball off me at 3-0. Okay, this is turn 6. So I know the off game can go horrible.
Well, yeah. I hope you do beat him, because it'll be interesting for the league.
Yeah, and also puts me towards a challenger spot. But yeah, that is now the end of the game week. Recap, the predictions, everything. We've done our predictions. We've said our piece, and that leaves us now at the end of the show. I want to thank Bungieman for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
A pleasure. We hope your halflings pick up a win soon, because your halflings are obviously the mascots of the league.
Spoiler, they probably won't.
They will. You'll run into someone like me, and not snot at me, so just have faith. But until then, it's me now signing off. I hope you have a fantastic game week, everyone out there. I hope you get your SPP, no one dies, you get all the touchdowns you want. Not everyone can win, but, you know, I hope you win, whoever it is who's listening to this. Pointing at yourself here at the screen going, me? Me, I win? You want me to win? I'll win, coach. But until then, obviously, have a great one. It's me signing out. Yep, have a great day.